Okay, perfect. So it sounds good. Okay, so welcome in this conference about comparison of different trackers in Matomo and the different methods you can use to detect and grab a maximum of valuables data. So I will start by presenting myself and the program of the conference. Then we are going to look at what is the measurement protocol, which is not the default name of the measurement protocol in Matomo, but we will see. Then we are talking about the tracker and the tracking HTTP API, and then all the declination in the GS tracker, the difference with the PHP tracker, the difference with the image tracker, and for each tracker we are looking what are the strengths, the weakness, the use cases, how can we set up on the website with real exercise. So I have a local demo website, I have a demo Matomo instance, to see how all the trackers are working individually. Then we are looking at the log importer, how we can integrate third-party data, how we can work with tag manager systems, and we have obviously questions. I already have a screen with the chat on my left, so if you want, you can ask me questions during the presentation, and if I grab it, I can answer in my flow. So I'm presenting myself. My name is Ronan. I'm a consultant independent at OpenMost, which is my own company. I'm working most of my time for customers about Matomo services, but in analytics in general. I have a personal website, which is written in French, ronan-hello.fr, where you can find some documentation about Matomo, Matomo trackers, Matomo instance, how you can configure it, etc., etc. I'm also a community Matomo contributor. I've created like 10 plugins, 3 themes like Google Themes, Dark Themes, which are the most popular. Plugins such as ChatGPT, Mistral AI, Tag Manager Extended, Weather Reports, etc., etc. Many plugins. I work for many different ways to make Matomo even better day after day, providing trainings for customers, etc. So, enough with my presentation. Let's dig into our main subject. Our story will begin with the measurement protocol. Measurement protocol is the way that a tracker will collect data and send it the proper way to Matomo. So first, the measurement protocol, it's a name that Google gave to their own measurement protocol, to their own tracker. So Matomo doesn't name it, so I grabbed the name from Google, but it's exactly the same thing and the same protocol. So how it works, it's basically an HTTP request with many parameters in the URL. We have basically 30 parameters, but we can have more if you use like custom plugins, if you use custom dimensions, etc., etc. And when Matomo upgrades its own core, sometimes you have more parameters, like when they add the performance reports, we now have the PF prefixed parameters, meaning for performance in the page, for server response time, etc., etc. All the parameters are not required, so you can send data through Matomo without all the parameters provided. So you can just send an event by default with like 4 or 6 basic parameters. So you don't need the 30 to make it work properly. So if we want to see how this works, you can go into your website. So I've just a session here. You can go to a website, and then you can go into the network tab and click on your Matomo request. So to open this tab, I just hit F12, go to network, I filter with the Matomo keyword, and then I can here get my request. And then you go into payload, and you can see the payload of the request. So every gray parameter is the name of the parameter, and in white, it's the value of the parameter. So as you can see here, we are on a page. So we have an event that have been sent when I hit the cookie banner. It says, for my CMP consent management platform, it allowed the cookie, and the event name is CMP allow, cookie allows. Then what it's important here, it's basically we are looking at a web page. We have the URL of the web page. We have the referrer of the web page. So I'm on the conference page, but I came from the home page. We have the performance of low page speed, loading performances. We have many information such as user agent, etc., etc. This is the mostly the boundary of what Matomo can collect on your website. Basically, when you use the JS tracker, but like any tracker, you will see it works at obviously the same way. So by mistake, I closed my presentation, but I will start. From current slide. Okay, so we have some limitations about the measurement protocol. Okay, the measurement protocol is not by design secured, so we can, if we understand how it works, we can reproduce his behavior and spam anybody that have a Matomo instance. So it works the same way with GA4. It works the same way with any concurrent of Matomo, but keep in mind that it's an open protocol, so you can spam anybody if they don't block it on their own instance. So beware of spam and beware of corrupted data. So you can send anything to anybody, even like in an e-commerce website. E-commerce website have maybe, I guess, backend PHP SDK tracker set up to collect the most accuracy, the most data for e-commerce tracking. But you can send anything, like I buy anybody, anything on the website. Okay, let's see, and let's dig into a tool that I've built, which is actually totally free, and you can use to understand and play with the HTTP API builder. Okay, so I'm on http-builder.openmoz.io, and here I have a tool that can manipulate the payload, the measurement protocol. Okay, so in the first step, you have to add your Matomo instance in the Matomo host field. Then just write the ID seed when you want to send data. And then you have to set record to 1, so don't change this one. On the left side, you have different entities you want to send into Matomo. So if we are just looking, we can send an action. Okay, so we have like default action parameters, like action name, which is actually the title of the page, the action URL, which is actually the URL of the page, a visitor ID, which is normally provided by Matomo, but you can generate randomly one of them. Same thing for the random key, which is used to avoid doublons on the request, and the API version, which obviously is always 1, or you don't have to set it properly. Who made the action? The user. Okay, where does it come from? You can add the referrer. You can set the resolution of his device, the hour, minutes, and seconds. You can set if he have cookies or not. You can provide a user agent. You can provide anything from the user. The same for specific action, like click on external outlink, downloads file, perform a search on the website, search with category and count, etc., etc. Something interesting, you can send event using this protocol. So if I want to send an event, I just have to say demo event as an action Matomo camp, in the name demo Matomo camp. Okay, as a value, I will set it's 13, so I will set 13. Here I have my measurement protocol. As I fill this form, I build my request. Okay, so I just have to change my host to a real host, which is demo.ronan-hello.fr. And now I can copy this link. And when I go to my instance here, I just have to set that it's seed ID 4. Okay, site ID 4 to this instance. I copy the link. As you can see, I still have no data here. Now I copy this link into my web browser. It hits automatically the Matomo endpoint. And now if I go to visitors and visit logs at the day of today, I can see my event that I just created in this tool. So here I can see demo event from Matomo count, the name of the event, and the value of the event. So you can do this for any information here, such as custom variables. Here you can add a pair of name and value. You can add custom dimensions with ID of the dimension and the value. And you can add, obviously, e-commerce information, such as order ID, and add items. So if you add like a t-shirt in clothes and the price is 50 and you want to buy 3 of them, if you want to do it by your own, you have to write something like that, but here you have an interface. Okay, so this tool is made to understand how measurement protocol works. It's basically an HTTP request. I guess you get it, so I will show you more things. Okay, so we were on the limitation, and now we are looking about the tracking HTTP API, which is basically an API, which is the measurement protocol. When should we use it? We use it in some use cases, like you are in a CRM and you have to send information because somebody was on the website and then he contact you. It's like generating leads. Then you call it with a call center. You close the deal, but outside of your website. So Matomo doesn't have the information that the lead is now closed. And you just want to push that data into your Matomo instance. You have to use the measurement protocol and the HTTP tracking API. It's the same way you can use this with IoT when you have some tiny objects that are connected to the internet, like captors for maybe a pathway counter, like a pressure captor or something like that. You just have to send information through Matomo using the measurement protocol as the HTTP tracking API. When you do some curl requests, it's exactly the same way. When you have a terminal and you want to perform a curl request to send data through Matomo, you are actually using the HTTP protocol. Okay, we are starting with some basics. How does it work? It's like pretty simple. You have the data, you format your own data as you want to store it in Matomo. You send data through Matomo with an HTTP request, and it's stored in the database, okay? You will see, as long as the conference is running, that the schema are going to be a little bit tricky, but this is the first one, and the first one is quite simple. Strengths and weaknesses of this method: there is no page speed impact. So the tracker is just performing an HTTP request, maybe, I guess, asynchronous if you want to. So no impact on the page speed. Data is pretty accurate because you can send your data whenever you want, whenever you have it. So no worries about that. If you send in using terminal, IoT, or CRM, there is no ad blockers. There is no way of blocking the request. So you have your own data integrity, and you can create your own logic behind this tracker, so you can build anything you want. Yes, this is the method that have been used when creating some SDK, such as iOS, Android, PHP, but also C#, Java, every languages that use custom SDK. The SDK is just a way of building that HTTP request in order to send data to Matomo. Some weaknesses: yes, of course, when you use it in the different use case I already said, there is no browser-provided data. What are browser-provided data? It's information such as screen resolution, such as pointer position, such as scroll depth, or heat map, session recording, all the stuff that your web browser is providing using JavaScript. Obviously, you don't get it when you use HTTP protocol. And there is no tag manager compatibility. So there is no possibility to use a tag manager. So I saw in the chat that where can you download the slide, please? Actually, you can't, but I will send them to the Matomo team Matomo camp team, and maybe they leave it a link, or at the end of the day, you can see the replay of this conference directly on my own website in ronan-hello.fr/conferences. It will be, I guess, on YouTube by the end of the day. Okay, we are continuing. After the HTTP tracking method, what are the benefits? There is a question, what are the benefits of sending events data using HTTP requests? I don't think there are real benefits. It's most likely in some environments, you can't use default tracker. You have to use some specific tracking method like HTTP request. I told you like these different use cases, CRM, when you are in a CRM or in a PIM or in a software environment when you can't run JavaScript or PHP or anything else languages, you obviously can just do an HTTP request. That's most of the case in many CRMs like HubSpot or Salesforce or anything like that. It's the most simplest way to send data when you are in a specific environment. When you are in a website environment, you obviously want to use the most simple tracker available for Matomo, which is the JavaScript tracker. Let's see some use case. Obviously, websites. So when you have platforms, when you have e-commerce, when you have classic websites, you just have to set the JavaScript tracker. You can use it on PWA, which are progressive web apps. So basically website in the form of a mobile app. And another use case is WebView, which is native Lights application you can install on your phone, but is like basically running on an iframe, a website. So PWA and WebView are slightly closer, but all of them are running on a web browser basically, so you can run JavaScript. Okay, how does it work? First, your browser is connecting with the server. Okay, your server will respond with a web page that contains the JavaScript tracker. The JavaScript tracker is running on your web browser, is collecting data from the browser, asking them where are we, what's the name of the page, what is your screen resolution, are we clicking on that button, are we playing that video? Okay, and the browser is answering with all the data it can give. Then the JavaScript tracker is bundling an HTTP request, and then the web browser is sending that request to the Matomo server. Now Matomo can have the information. It repeats that schema every time you change the page. Every new page, you request a new page that sends you the page with the JavaScript tracker that collect data and send the data through Matomo server. Okay, there are some strengths to the JavaScript tracker. It's easy to install, like one-way installation. You just have to copy, paste the code. There are several plugins, several ways of installing the Matomo tracker using CMS, X plugins, or stuff like that. And it's the only tracker that automatically detects file download, window size, outlinks, content visibility. So it knows if something is in the viewport or not in the screen. It has the ability to run heat map and session recording premium plugins, form analytics plugins, media analytics plugins, and obviously it's tag manager compatible, which are a very good ways of starting with tracking when you are on a website. So obviously JavaScript tracker is one of the most popular tracking solution for Matomo. But it has some weaknesses too. So it's easily blockable by browser extensions such as uBlock Origin or other. Those browser extensions can block HTTP requests, and then you lose your data. So yes, it's powerful, but it's easy to block. So beware of the situation you are. It's subject to CSP issue. Many of my customers have CSP issue. Basically, it's security improvements that you have to do. You have to allow Matomo to load on your own website. It's generally a problem at the installation of the website. When Matomo is properly installed and when your website is properly configured, it will run without any CSP issue. So it's not really a weakness. but you don't have any data validation. So your web browser is telling anything to the tracker, and the tracker take that for the truth and send the data through Matomo. So no data validation. You have to trust every web browser of your users. So it could be not really interesting. There is no data consistency. There is difference between browsers. There is difference between countries, between legislations, between many information. So not the best for consistency, and not the best for data accuracy too, for the same reason. And you have a medium page speed impact. So when your web server or your Matomo could be quite slow, or you want to track many informations, the tracker could have a medium impact in the page speed. So beware if your website is already a bit slow. Okay, so now we are talking about PHP tracker. So I'm switching from JavaScript to PHP because I guess JavaScript tracker, everybody here in the room know how to set up JavaScript tracker. So it's a base tracker. But for PHP, it's slightly different. Okay, let's see. Some use cases. We want to use PHP tracker to get the most accuracy, to get more data and valuable data. When? We want to use the PHP tracker when we are in an e-commerce concept. When you have a website selling products, you want to get money informations, you can't get fake data, you can't get not full set of data, you just have to use the PHP SDK connector for Matomo. Then when you are in a risky or performance environment, like you are in the security for the states where you work, or a company that have secrets and you don't want to show that you are using Matomo to your customers, okay, let's see. PHP tracker is executed on the web server, so nobody can see that you have PHP tracker. In fact, yes, we can see using cookies, but you can hide it very well. And then when you have like a platform, a SaaS platform, which is an API, and many of your customers can use your own service by your own API, and you want to measure how they use your API. I don't know, you are a pure player services providing data through API. You want to measure how many requests they made, who are their own customer, etc., etc. So basically, you can put a Matomo PHP tracker behind your API to measure every interaction. How does it work? Your web browser is requesting a web page to the server. The server have a PHP. There is a mistake here. There is no JS tracker in this area. So you request a web page on the server. The server is collecting information, send the tracking information to the Matomo server, and return the web page without tracker. I'm sorry for that. There is a slight tiny mistake here. It returns a web page without tracker to your customer. So customer doesn't know that he have a PHP tracker on the server. Some strengths and weakness. The strength is data accuracy, data integrity, because nobody can harm the data. PHP server is like a fortress, I guess, in terms of security. I know not often, but it should be a fourth place. But you have data accuracy and data integrity. You have a low page speed impact, which is very interesting if you want to switch to JavaScript tracker to PHP tracker to get more performances. And it's an almost invisible tracking method. So if you want to have a smiling face to your customers and say, hey, we don't track you, or we are not evil, you can just use the PHP tracker in order to get basic information without tracking a long way your user. But there is different weaknesses. I wrote, painful installation. It's not really painful, but it requires technical competencies. So you have to know how to code in JavaScript. You have to be the website owner in order to set up PHP tracking method, because you have a lot of configuration if you want it to work properly. It's not difficult or painful. It's just you have to know what you want to do in order to make it properly. But the main weakness is there is no browser provided data. So you can't have heat map, session recording, you can't have window sizes. You lose every browser data information. And Today, Matomo doesn't provide server-side tag manager. So actually, there is no tag manager compatibility with the PHP tracker. There is another one. There is the image tracker, which is, as you will see, very close to the HTTP API tracker or the measurement protocol. Okay, image tracker, what is the use cases? We want to put a tiny image of 1 by 1 transparent pixel in emails to detect when users are opening their mails, if they have written, if they have read our email, if they have opened it on the phone, sorry, I'm losing my words, on the desktop, etc., etc. We can use it when you have user-generated content on a website, such as forums, for example. You can add different ways signature on when you post a topic on a forum. If you want to know how many people are going in this forum and that forum is not yours, you can't. But with tracking image, you can. You just have to add this tiny image in your forum topic, and every time somebody is reading your topic in the forum, you will be his visit will be triggered. So you will just have like a count of how many people are looking at your topic on the forum. And it can be interesting for all devices, which is, I guess, a tiny part of the population. But when you have very old devices that can't run JavaScript, you can still run an image that will work on every device. No worries about that. Even the oldest device will run an image when JavaScript can't on older device. And say, how does it work? Basically, your web browser is requesting a web page to your server. Your server is sending the web page with the image tracker in the body of the page. Your web browser is building the page to display the information to your user. By building the page, it calls the image from Matomo. So the image will be displayed in the screen, so it's totally invisible. But by fetching the image, it will send information to Matomo. Okay, so the way that your web browser is reaching the image from Matomo server, in the same time, it sends information to Matomo. Okay, it's the way of displaying the image, and the image have tiny parameters, and this way you have to collect information to Matomo. There are some strengths and some weaknesses. There is a low page speed impact because you can obviously lazy load your image. So you can just say, hey, image, just wait that the page is fully charged to send data. Or you can put your pixel at the top of the page, but just wait for the page to be ready instead of instant charging the image. And you can create your own logic to provide data as parameter, such as HTTP request API. There are like some of the same benefits and some of the same weaknesses too. But you are subject to CSP issues because you are working on a web browser environment. So every assets are protected by CSP policy, sorry. So if the policy is not well configured, there will be CSP issue, so beware. And so you are on a web browser, but you can't grab browser provided data. So as the image is the same for everybody and the parameters are the same for everybody, if you don't tweak yourself the image URL, you won't have any browser provided data such as window screen, pointer location, scroll depth, etc., etc. And there is no tag manager compatibility, yes and no. So in the tag manager, there is a Matomo image tracker tag, but we will see that it's very specific. So you have to understand that the image tracker is made for non-JavaScript environment, and tag manager systems are made for JavaScript environment. So it's very awkward to use an image in a tag manager, because if you are in a tag manager, you can just use the classic Matomo tracker in JavaScript and don't use the image. So here It's basically an HTTP protocol as an image URL. So it's a measurement protocol in the SRC attribute of the image tag. So our image tag SRC, here we are fetching the Matomo instance. And as you can see in this example, we are sending event category is demo, event action is tracker image, and event name is demo. And then we have event value equal 12. You don't have to set an alt information, but I guess you can, or if you want, you are not required to do that, but you can lazy load the pixel and set a width of 1 and a height on 1. It's totally optional. The only thing is to set the source and an alt even if it's empty. So as I told you, in the tag manager, there is a custom image tag. So I'm here in the tag manager. There is a custom HTML and a custom image. But when you click on custom image, they are requesting you to build your own image URL. You can use the tool I previously show you, which is called HTTP Builder on openmost.io, and you can create your own image URL as well. So now we have like a log importer possibilities. So we are leaving the direct information collecting using tracker. So all the tracker we've seen from the beginning of this talk are like instant tracker. So you send the information is stored in the Matomo and directly available through your reports. But we have another way to collect many informations. And now we are talking about log importer. There are many use cases for logs. One of the most popular is for offline services. So you are using like many tools that is not connected through the internet. So you can't just make an HTTP request, I guess. So they are for specific hardware, specific business tools, etc., with some high security services. And those tools are generating some logs of usage, and you can obviously import those logs. It's the same for the initial data import. So let's imagine that you are new to Matomo, but your website is already 2 or 3 years old. So you already have some data in a raw log file. You can use this file in order to collect initial data before having installation of Matomo work properly. So when you install Matomo, you can import 2 or 3 years of previous data in order to start with some basic data. And then in another use case is when you use it with security services. So you are in a specific like banking area, or when you can't show to your front end what kind of technology you use in case of security breach, you are using the log importer services. Okay, so how does it work? Your web page or application just make a request to your web server. Every time a web server is hit by a request, it will store the request in a file, which is called a log file. We will see just the next slide what is it. So every request is stored in this log file. Your web server is then responding without any tracker on the page, so it's completely safe for the web browser. And then what we have a task, a cron task, which is a task that executes regularly every hours, every 15 minutes, every 6 hours, as you want, to run a Python script. And this Python script is just reading the log file, and then it grabs the information from the file and send them to the Matomo database. Okay, so it's all backend stuff. The user in the front end never see anything of your tracking method, but you have basic data. So here I can show you an Apache log file. As you can see here, we have IP of the user that many IPs that I just hide for the slide in order to protect them privacy. And as you can see, we have every time a URL that is fetched. So user asks for product/Matomo dark theme in HTTP for my website, and then it changed the page, etc. So here we can see visits from our visitors. Okay, so this is difficult to read. So let's dig into the log anatomy. This is an Apache log, so it has a specific information order. Many web servers or many services can change the order on the information, but you can tweak your Matomo log importer in order to read properly your logs. So Apache logs is specific, Nginx logs is specific, Tomcat log is specific, etc. So depending on your web server, you will have different logs. Okay, so let's dig in. First, we have the IP address of the user. Then we have the identity of the user, which is often empty. So here we don't have the information. Then we have the date, the hour, and the UTC +1 information here. Then we got the HTTP method. So get is to get information of a web page. We can have post to send information, or in web, we often have just get and post, but you can also have put, patch, or delete options, etc. information in HTTP method. Then we have the requested URL. What kind of URL the user want to read. Then we have the protocol, the status code, which is 200, so success. The size of the response, the size of the page we just have to send. If there is any referrer, so here no referrer, but if we have one, it will be stored there. And we finish with the user agent. With that information, we are able to import every link, every row, every line, and recreate visits from the past using the log importer. So how does it work? You have a Python script. You run from your Matomo misc log analytics log import.py, which is included in your Matomo instance. You just provide the URL of the website, the ID of the website, how many recorders you want to process the log file simultaneously, and then you provide the path to your log file. You have some options that you can provide here, but it will run the importer. Some strengths and some weaknesses. Strengths, data security at first. Yes, of course, data never leaves your server. It stays in your backend. It's never goes through the internet. So it's basically the best way in terms of security. There is like data accuracy and data integrity, because everybody leaves a footprint in your server, leaves a raw line, in the log file, and they can't modify the information. So it's better for data accuracy and data integrity. You have no page speed impact, so it's written low, but it's very no page speed impact because it's not concerned by how the page is actually rendered, and it's totally invisible for anybody. Weaknesses, it's a painful installation, so you have to install Python on your web server, you have to run a cron task, etc. It's not difficult, but you have to know what we have to do in order to make it work properly. It's not very difficult, but when you've never done this before, it could be painful. You obviously lose many information, such as browser-provided data, heat map, session recording, window sizes, etc., form analytics, media analytics. All of those data will be lost, and there is no Tag Manager compatibility for the same reason. Tag Manager is a front-end technology in Matomo, and we are working on the server side. So now we have seen all of the available tracking method from Matomo. I don't talk about iOS.SDK, Android SDK, Java SDK, and C# SDK because they are the same way of PHP SDK, okay? PHP SDK and all other SDK are same feature in it. It's just different ways of implementing the HTTP protocol on any device or any languages you want. So now we are going to talk about third-party data. So how does it work? Basically, you have third-party server providing data, and you have your own Matomo instance, and you are just sending third-party data to your Matomo. How? Different ways. Maybe you can create a plugin in Matomo. I already done this for the Gravatar here in the example. So as you can see, this is my user ID profile card, and this is my Gravatar picture. I just grab my user ID as my email encrypted in SHA-256, and grabbing the information, sending to Gravatar, and collecting the image back. So basically, depending of what kind of third-party data you want to have, it could be server-side or front-end side, browser side. So there is no rule at it. You have to make it the own way. Some use cases, yes, of course. We have the plugin SEO Web Vitals in Matomo, which provides third-party data that are coming from PHP Insight of Google Services, which is a plugin in Matomo. And I already made 2 more plugins, which is Weather Reports, which collecting data in the browser of the user and sending them from the browser to Matomo services, and the Gravatar profile, which is giving you an image in your profile card by using custom dimensions, and it collects the image from the server side, so no connection with the front. So depending of what you want to do, you have to deal it with the backend or with the front end. And to go to the end, because I saw the time and it's already time, we have to talk about tag manager systems. So how does it work? It works slightly the same way as a JavaScript tracker, but there is a tiny difference here. So your web page is asking your server to get a web page. Your browser is asking a web page to your server. Your server is rendering the web page with the TMS, which is Tag Manager System, in the web page. And then the Tag Manager System run on your web browser using JavaScript. It starts the Matomo classic code, which collects information in your web browser, and then it sends the information to your Matomo instance. So it's slightly the same way as JavaScript, but you have one step different, and you have the ability to compact information into a single JavaScript file. But this is just technique. It's not very important for the presentation. What are the use cases of using a tag manager system? Is for marketing teams, when you want your marketing teams to be more operational when they don't know or don't have access to the code of your product, but you want them to run ads, advertising, tracking events for feature, etc. So let your marketing team be autonomous using a tag manager. You can also obviously track multiple websites at once using a tag manager. So you have a configuration that you can run with only one container and some variables in it. You are able to track multiple websites using the same container and the same configuration. It's especially efficient when you have same HTML-based code for many pages, many websites, like white label websites or tiny websites. And then we have the third use case, which is tracking for SaaS websites, platforms, and SaaS features. Obviously, when you have a large platform, SaaS, you have many users that can perform many actions, and you want to track them. You want to track each feature, each action the user can do. Are they using that feature? Are they not using this one? You want to get like many tons of events based on the user behavior. So this is totally the way a tag manager should run. And in this year, we had an evolution of the tag manager working that allow to set a custom request processing variable in your Matomo configuration variable. So it's totally at the end of your Matomo configuration variable. To get it, you have to edit your Matomo configuration variable to create a new custom request processing variable to parse the object, update the information, and rebuild the request and return it as a string. So I've tested for you. So here is what I did. So this is basically the code I just wrote in my variable, in custom request processing variable. And this is what it returns to me when I publish it to my website. So those are the information you can edit when you go to the website. Okay, I can show you if you want. because it's actually in production. This is what it means. So using this technology, you can here just log information into your console, but this is not what we want to do. We want to edit information before Matomo sends information to the server. So here it's just to look at information, but in this part of the code, you have to customize your requests, like changing the URL or replacing UTM parameters when you have like errors in it, or you can do many things. Okay, you can extend your tag manager, which is Google Tag Manager or Matomo Tag Manager, using plugins in order to get more information into your trackers. In Google Tag Manager, you can use custom tags. I built 4 of them here in order to track custom dimensions, event, goals, site search, or use the default tracking for page view. There are third-party tags too. And if you are using Matomo Tag Manager and you are in on-premise configuration, you can use my Tag Manager extended plugin in order to complete the list of tags that are available in your Tag Manager. So we've seen a bunch of different trackers. So now the question is, what should I use? Here is a tiny comparison table of all of what we just seen in this conference. So as you can see, there are lots of differences between all the trackers. Why are we using the JavaScript tracker by default? It's because it embeds, it allows you to use many informations, and you've got window size, file download, and content visibility auto-provided. So it's very pleasant to use. But these trackers is blockable by browser, is subject to CSP issue, and you can't have data validation before storage. But if you use the tag manager, yes, you can make a tiny validation before storage. And JavaScript tracker is not the best for data consistency, data accuracy, and page speed impact. PHP tracker is very good for value, for data consistency, accuracy, and page speed impact, but you will skip the auto features and some of the best plugin in Matomo. So you have to make your own choice. As you can see, you won't use the image tracker because it's, I get the worst, or it's just for specific use case. Where log importer skip most of the great feature, but is pretty good in information consistency, accuracy, page speed impact, etc., etc. So I hope this table will help you making your choice or changing the tracking type you use on your customers, depending on their different goals. So thank you for watching this conference. I'm reading in the chat if there is some questions, but we are at the end of the time allowed to this talk. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking for questions if you have some. Okay, since there is no question, thank you. Thank you all in the chat for participating in this conference. I hope this will help, and you can find a replay at the end of the day on the website ronan.elo.fr/conferences. Thank you. Bye.